Hi everybody, with autumn fast approaching, I thought you might like to see how to make a traditional advent calendar, complete with beautiful pictures and a lovely snowy scene in the front. First of all, I've got a sheet of A4 card, 170 grams square metre cardstock from Kanban Crafts of a nice Christmassy type scene, and I'm going to be cutting that in half. The next thing I need is 3 size sheets of A4, 2 of which will have the pictures on that I've got on my computer, and there are various different sizes, 2 centimetres, 2.5 and 3 centimetres, and I've also done bigger ones for the Christmas Eve as well. So that'll be on the right hand side, and they're on an A5 template. On the other side, on the left hand side, another selection of pictures, and of course you can choose what you like from the hundreds of free clip art available online, and it's just a question of printing them off onto your A4 sheet. Once you've done that, then the next stage is going to be to have the dies to cut out your windows, and I've got these from Creative Expressions with a mix of different sizes and shapes, which mean you can make your project as versatile as you like. You do need to make a template, so a little bit more preparatory work, so that you can position your dies on your Christmas scene accurately as to where the pictures are likely to be. So I've done that using squares and rectangles that are slightly larger than the dies I'm going to be using, so that when I position them on the paper, I will be sure that the windows will cut directly above where the pictures on the background card actually feature. So I've done that on the right hand side, and you're going to have to make a similar template for the left hand side. A little bit of a tedious job, but once you've done it, then you can reuse it time and time again, and you can position it over your background papers and know that you're going to have success when you open the doors. So on this one, which I haven't yet cut, just show you the left hand template, and then I will position the dies on top, and so you can be accurate in what you're trying to achieve. So what I'm going to be doing now is to put some numbers over where the pictures are going to be, and they'll be in the middle of the windows, and again I've done that on my computer, and I think having small numbers is great because then you have to search for the next day's door as to where it's going to be to open. So I think it adds to the fun and is definitely nice to have. So to cut out the windows, what you need to do is to put one of your background pieces on your, this is my big shot, and I've got the base plate, second tab, and the precision cutting plate here with my background paper on top, and then I'm going to be positioning the template, lining it up carefully, just lining up that, and then taking your individual dies, you can line them up and position them carefully. So this is the biggest die and this is the biggest square, and I am just going to position that within that square, making sure I'm fairly central. And then I'll just use a tiny bit of low tack tape to hold that in place. Now sometimes it's easier to just slide out the template and run a single one through, or you can carry on because you've got 3 each of the different size dies. So you could carry on and put a middle size one in up here, little one here, tape them in place. It's entirely up to you how you do it. Once you've done all of your cutouts, remove the last one. This is what the right hand side of the advent calendar will look like, and these have the perforations on the windows, and you'll be able to flick them out very easily with a finger to open to show the pictures. So that is the one side done, and obviously you'll repeat the same thing using the other template for the picture on the left hand side. So to do the middle decorative section, I've taken 3 lots of card, and if I start with this one in the middle, it's actually 12 centimetres wide, and it is the full width of A4, which is 21 centimetres. So I've scored it at 1 centimetre in from each edge and up the middle, which will leave me this central section of 10 centimetres. Now I've cut a rectangle out the middle because I want to put a window in, and I've used a little rectangular die from a nested set I've got that is just slightly smaller than the window die that I want to use, so that when I cut it out, which I have, and I've trimmed it, I'll be able to stick it in place around the window. Now I also thought it'd be very nice to have a cat in the window, and he can just sit quietly on the window washing his paws. But I will want to emboss this with brick or stonework, and I'm going to be using this embossing folder. So that is the inner section of the central decoration. Now the middle section is, as you can see, just 2 centimetres larger, and initially I did cut out a full width of A4 as well, but I only needed some of it, so I snipped the rest off. And I've used these 2 Unbranded Carol Singer dies, and I've partially die cut them using simple partial die cutting with my cutting plate. I will ping out all the little bits, and then I'm just going to trim a shape of snow across here and get rid of the rest. So it'll be 4 centimetres deep, quite narrow really. And with that, I'm going to use my embossing mat, which I've got here with my big shot, and this border die, and just sort of create a snow effect in sort of bubbles across it, and you'll see that when I've done it. So that's going to be the middle section of my decoration, and then the outer bit is this one, which is 2 centimetres wider again, so it's 16 centimetres, which is about 6.5 inches. And I again had it the width of the A4 paper, cutting it to the length that I want, which related to this lamppost, left me with this top section, which I'm going to emboss with the top of this tree die using my embossing plate, again to make snow and to make a curvy canopy. So I'll be doing that. This one I partially die cut because I can't put it across the width of my big shot. I can't use the simple partial die cutting method, and I used card stacks to make sure that only part of the lamppost cut out. And the same with the carol singer, and again I've got to ping out the bits, and I will, with my scissors, cut out wavy snow across, and that'll be quite a narrow die, and that'll sit right at the front. So once I've cut across the strips, and you can do it in any shape you like, but I've just made a little rounded snowy sort of effect, that will make my front panel, my decoration. And I will do a mountain fold on the middle score line and valley folds on the 2 sides. And for the one behind, as you see, I've just done it a little bit deeper, and again I've done exactly the same with my scissors, and I will again do a mountain fold in the middle and valley folds at the side. So basically, to emboss the snow on the bottom, I've used my border die, and I've got my base plate, precision plate, and my embossing mat. I've put my die cut on top, and I've run that through on the embossing and got my snow effect. Now I don't particularly want to get the bubbles or the snow on these edges, so it's a bit like partial die cutting. So position that just at the end there, and then I'm going to do exactly as I do for partial die cutting, and just take the cutting plate up to the edge of the score line, and then when I run it through, that bit will emboss and the rest won't. So then you're just left with your snow effect across your card with the score lines nice and plain at the end. So I'm going to do exactly the same on this one as well. For the canopy, I'm using this tree die, and I just want the sort of the bushy bit at the top. Just want that to emboss, to make a snowy effect. And here's the bit I did before. I think you can just about see that. And all I'm doing with that, because I don't want the stem, and I'm quite happy to have some overlap on my snow, is just position it where I want it to be and run the... And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to follow around the snowy edge to make my canopy. And if I want to make it a bit deeper, I'll just add a bit more of the tree effect to create my snowy shape. So once you're done with your embossing and your sticking, and also I did a little bit of colouring of the lamppost, then you create mountain folds in the middle of each section and valley folds at the side. And so this will be the back piece, this will be the middle piece, this will be the outer piece, and this will be the outer piece canopy at the top. To assemble your advent calendar, obviously you're going to need your back pieces of card, and you're going to be sticking your front pieces on, but you do that at the end. Now this decoration is going to be in the centerfold, and this is the longest piece, and it is 7 centimeters long, and then you've got your 1 centimeter border. So you can stick it underneath, but I generally like to have it alongside, just to give an edge, so you've got plenty of room to reach your windows, which means that when you are thinking about where the fold line should be for your advent calendar, then you add on the length of the side plus any extra that you want. So in this case, I'm going to add on that 7 centimeters, I'm going to add on 8 centimeters. And so that means that I am going to score a line that is at 22.8, so we'll call it 23 centimeters hard, and that'll be the fold line of the advent calendar. Having scored your line at 23 centimeters, which means that obviously the other side is going to have to be 23 centimeters as well, which means that where I need to cut this piece of card is to allow a little centimetre or so overlap to stick, around 17.5, 18 centimetres. So I thought it'd be rather nice to have a background to make just a domestic Christmas scene. And now to assemble it, you start with your back piece first, which is the window. And if you remember, that's 5 centimetres. And so what I need to do is put some glue on the score line and measure it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make sure that it is absolutely straight. Precision is important here because you want this to be able to fold closed when you're finished. So you stick that line down. Once that's stuck, then you do the same on the opposite side and leave that to dry before doing the next bit. When you've stuck that first piece on both sides, this is what you'll get, which is a box section, and it means that you're going to be able to close your card completely like that when it's done. The next thing to do is to stick the middle piece, and this is going to be down the bottom, and this is 6 centimetres long. So yet again, you will measure up and stick that in place, and then do exactly the same on the opposite side, and you'll get your second line. And then having done that, you will do exactly the same with your third and final piece, which is 7 centimetres, lining it up. And because your score lines are 1 centimetre, it's pretty easy to line them up. Obviously it's not quite finished because we've still got to stick on the Christmas scene and cover all those pretty pictures with windows. And to do that, you can use any glue you like, but I tend to use a wide felt tip glue pen and stick on the side with the windows, because what you don't want to do is get any glue over the perforation, so you don't want your glue spreading. So a glue pen gives you some precision to go around those and then stick it in place. Once you've stuck your window in place, then all that I would do is cut out a little strip of card that I've already scored vertically, just to make a little decorative edge, and cut it out, and then I will just stick it in place just to add a little trim. Obviously I will do exactly the same on the other side, and then your advent calendar is complete unless you want to put on little spots of glue and add some glitter, which I always think finishes off an advent calendar rather beautifully. The net result is you've got something really easy, very pretty, quite unusual. You can put a tea light in to illuminate at night, but you can actually fold flat and put in an A4 envelope to send through the post.